angry. These feelings are natural but not helpful. Anger is a secondary emotion that arises out of fear or frustration. What is helpful is to remember in all interaction with your loved one that they are ill. All right? That they are ill. So, all right. So let's see what this all right. So we're gonna first start off by today's topic: set your boundaries. All right, set your boundaries. If you are angry or feel like a doormat, you may need to adjust your boundaries. All right. You need boundaries for two reasons, this article says. Number one, to protect yourself physically and emotionally. And two, to ensure you keep your empathy and compassion. Don't allow yourself to build up so much resentment that you blow up. If your loved one feels that you no longer love them, it's not good for them. People in active addiction can be desperate and do things they would not normally do. Try not to take it personally. That is easier said than done. Do not allow your loved ones to physically, emotionally, or verbally abuse you. Remove yourself from the situation. If necessary, call 911. It's not good for you or your loved ones or anyone to feel that their lives are in danger or feel uncomfortable in their own homes, all right? Or have someone or your loved one walking around on eggshells. And so if you feel that there is a tense situation, this article says remove yourself from the situation, or if necessary, call 911. This can be difficult to do, particularly for a parent, all right? However, allowing your child to treat you badly is also harmful to your child. The most question for you: the principles of self-compassion and self-care can be a guide. In other words, is your loved one crossing the boundaries, limits that you have established for your own well-being or the well-being of others in the family home? If the answer is yes, then your loved one may have to move out of your home, but this does not mean that your loved one is out of your life, right? We're talking about today support, how we can support our loved ones with the proper tools and the proper approach, all right? It just means that for now you need to put yourself and other family members first, right? A lot of times family, I think this article is letting us know, let me know that a lot of times when family try to do all they can, and when there is not enough, when we have a loved one who is in active addiction, begin to become irritable, rowdy, irate, verbally disrespectful. And so there is certain things that we must, or measures that we must take, all right? And certain things we must put in place, all right? If you are a parent, putting yourself first will not come naturally, all right? If your child is young, the situation becomes even more complex, as you will have an obligation to support your child, all right? It says, it is rarely possible for parents to require their minor children to get treatment, all right, for addiction or other mental health conditions where their child does not want to see the need for treatment. This means a decision to require the child to leave the home often results in, all right, the child going into the custody of Children Aid Society, all right? We know what that entails, where the child will not receive treatment, becoming homeless and possibly living on the street or ending up in juvenile detention. All right, so that is something that we must keep in mind. Next topic of discussion, we talk about setting boundaries. Now we want to talk about learning how to communicate better. Families are not powerless. We can control our side of the conversation. Good communication is a cornerstone of good relationships. Let me read that again. Good communication is a cornerstone of good relationships. Good communication involves active listening. This basic guide is a good refresher on better communication skills for everyone at all times. It becomes particularly important when relationships become strained, as they do when a loved one is in active addiction. Often, a person in active addiction can feel hopeless, depressed, and have a poor self-image. This is where families can make things better or worse. You can support them by making sure that your words do not confirm their negative feelings. Keeping your communication positive will not only help your loved one, but it will help you too. Everyone at times says things that they regret later. Keeping things positive will help you avoid subsequent feelings of regret. Positive communication sends the message that you are both on the same team, fighting the addiction instead of in opposite ends of the ring, fighting each other. All right? Positive communication skills. All right? That take active listening. That take saying things that we wouldn't want to regret later on. So in that case, we want to remain focused, vigilant of the words, of our thoughts, because a lot of times, if we don't pay attention, we may do more harm than good. At times, this may be difficult to do because your loved one's communication with you may be negative or offensive, but there are only two alternatives in this situation. Sink down to that level of negativity or rise above it. So we have choices here, right? We can, as the article says, sink down to the negativity, or we can rise above it. Some points to keep in mind and practice. So this article is going to give us some tools, all right? Some points, some pointers, all right? It says, number one, don't engage when your loved one is high, drunk, hungry, tired, or in a hurry, all right? Next one, tone and volume. How you say something can be more important than what you say. Aim for an empathetic tone and don't yell. Now, like the article mentioned earlier, these things are easy said than done. It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to work on. And we are not perfect. And so I'm not perfect. I don't want to pretend that, I run across a situation or conflict arise that I'm the first one to be at ease. But I do try to keep a level of control, all right? And so that only comes through practice, all right? And so just think about some of these tools we want to talk about. Don't engage your loved one when they're high or drunk, all right? Watch our tones and volumes, all right? How we say things. Next, be brief, avoid lectures and nagging, and stay on point, right? Use I statement, right? I learned that when I was in the therapeutic community, the I statement, keep the focus on myself, all right? So it says use I statement instead of you, all right? Statement which can lead to defensive responses. For an example, it is easy to hear, I worry when I don't know where you are, then you are inconsiderate because you never let me know where you are. And so you see where it talks about, I worry, I'm showing empathy, I'm showing concern. But when I begin to point the finger, you are inconsiderate, I'm pointing the finger, all right? Listen carefully, repeat back to make sure you understand your loved one's position and validate their viewpoint. All right? Validation does not mean you agree with them. It means they have been heard and you understand where they are coming from. They will feel good that they have been heard and you will be better able to empathize if you know where they are coming from. All right? If you have a request or concern you need to express, consider sandwiching it between two positive statements. I like that. All right. Be a good role model. No one is perfect. I just said that. No one is perfect. Admit when your behavior or communication have been harmful and apologize. It takes a lot to be the bigger person. It takes a lot to be adhering to someone or sensitive to someone's feeling because it allows people to understand that there is a connection. There is a room or some room for growth in the relationship because we're talking about family members. This is a family meeting. This is a family recovery support group. We're sharing family information dealing with our loved ones who may be in active addiction. But oftentimes when we don't understand the disease of addiction, sometimes we may speak in a tone or we may constantly nag. And so this article giving us some tools to things to say and things not to say when our loved ones may be high, drunk, hungry, things of that nature. So it's like when a person come home from work, working hard all day, and they need maybe 5 to 10 minutes to unwind, right? And so oftentimes or sometimes people may find themselves after working 10, 12 hours a day, whatever they may have, and they come home, and if there is nagging or if there's not enough room in between to let the person unwind, gather themselves to decompress from the stress of the day, because oftentimes things can get stressful and sometimes we just need 5 to 10 minutes to unwind. All right, and so let's move further on in this segment. The next topic we want to talk about: reinforce positive behaviors, even tiny ones. Reinforce positive behaviors, even tiny ones. Positive reinforcement means catching someone doing something good and acknowledging their efforts or successes. This will help your loved one feel good about himself and less hopeless about his situation. This is easy to do at the beginning of substance use disorders because it would be easier to find actions to praise than when someone is in a severe addiction. Even the tiniest of positive behaviors is worth acknowledging, but the acknowledgement must be genuine, right? The positive reinforcement should be in proportion to the positive behavior. It could be as simple as expressing gratitude that your loved one came home for dinner, or came home on time, or smiled at you. Rewarding your loved one's positive behaviors can take the form of a smile, a soft touch, or a kind word. Many tiny celebrations of good can add up, just like many small criticisms can become overwhelming. Right? Families cannot encourage their loved ones to change through positive reinforcement if the families are out of the picture. If you have made the decision for your own health and sanity and that of other family members, that you cannot live with your loved ones, this does not mean that they have to be out of your life. When you no longer have daily contact, it can be much easier to make targeted attempts at connection. Again, you can set your own limits. For an example, that you would like to get together, but only if your loved one is sober at the time. If it is important to try to maintain contact. It can be as simple as meeting every so often for a meal, keeping the conversation light, and providing positive reinforcement for the fact that you are eating together. Wow. So that sounds like to me, instead of, this will pull us closer, keep us connected, as opposed to pushing someone away with a whole bunch of criticism, a whole bunch of name calling, things of that nature. All right. I like what this says. You reinforce positive behaviors when you say, "I'm glad you took the time out to have dinner with me. I'm glad you came home on time." The small thing, or simple as it says, the tiny one, even the tiny one, positive reinforcement is important. Even a smile. Wow. A smile can go a long way. You ever seen someone just, your loved one, they'd be so glad to see you and smile, and you just, it makes you feel good. And so let's try that. Let's look, these some things that we can work on. Not to say that it's all going to come in one single episode, but we definitely need some tool things that we can work on. All right. So I have someone who logged in, and so I'm gonna have to ask you not to drive and watch this one, but I see you, I acknowledge you, and so anyone that may be watching this, we advise that you not drive and watch this. All right, and so we're gonna keep going on to the next one. All right. We don't want no accident. We don't want no mishaps from anyone, all right? So the next topic, natural consequences instead of punishment. Not rewarding bad behavior is equally as important as rewarding good behavior. This is generally what people mean when they talk about not enabling the addiction. People learn by suffering the consequences of their actions. It is better for you and your loved one if you are not exhausted from trying to minimize the consequence of his or her addiction. Natural consequences are what happen when you don't intervene. They can be small, being late for school or work, or big, failing at school, losing a job, losing custody of a child, or becoming ill. Natural consequences provide motivation to change. It is easy to explain the concept of natural consequences. Applying the principles in any particular set of circumstances can be extremely difficult, particularly when there is an issue of safety. If you are living with your loved one, it may feel like every day is a tense because there are often issues of safety, all right? Natural consequences, all right? Talking about. In these circumstances, you have to decide if you can live with the natural consequences that your loved one may suffer. No one will be able to make, all right? No one will be able to make these decisions for you. However, this is a topic that is very common in support groups, and knowing that you are not alone and hearing what others have done in similar situations can help you make decisions in your best interest and the best interest of your loved ones. Natural consequences are not the same thing as punishment. Punishment are when you intervene to provide a negative consequence. For an example, taking away someone's cell phone. The problem with punishment is that it takes the focus off the natural consequences of problematic substance use and puts the focus on you. Your loved ones can come to see you as the problem rather than their substance use. Instead of the two of you being on the same team against addiction, you are in opposite ends of the ring against each other. This destroys the connection between your loved ones that you are trying to build or maintain. Punishment can increase harm if your loved one also struggles with ADHD, all right? Attention deficit hyper disorder. This article has a quote, a little, I believe, I want to say a quote, but someone shared a piece in here, a paragraph rather, beyond addiction, and it goes like this. If you are a parent of a teen or a young adult with ADHD and substance problems, you have an extra reason to find alternative to punishment. The only positive value of any punishment is that it can be anticipated and therefore avoided by behaving well. People who are particularly impulsive or struggling with ADHD symptoms are not good at anticipating the future and seldom think through consequences before they experience them. As a result, for these people, punishment as the only consequence can lead to a profound sense of learned helplessness, defeat, and generally feeling bad about themselves. This is from a paragraph shared on this article, Beyond Addiction. Let's talk about the next topic of discussion, motivate change by showing the cost versus the benefit. In order to help motivate your loved ones to change, you must first understand why he or she uses substances in the first place. That's good. That's good. There are all kinds of reasons to try a substance, but continual problematic use usually means the substance is being used as a coping mechanism to deal with physical and or emotional pain like anxiety and depression. Having empathy for your loved ones will help motivate you to stay connected and change their environment to support long-term recovery. You can affect your loved one's motivation to change. People are motivated to change their substance use when they perceive that the cost of using the substance outweigh the benefits. As addiction progresses and becomes more severe, the costs generally increase and the benefits decrease. Increased tolerance to the drugs means that eventually people are using to avoid the pain of withdrawal. That is, feel normal, rather than to get high. In other words, over time, people's motivation to change will increase. People struggling with addiction are suffering. They may want to change but feel like they are hopeless or just can't do it. You can support your loved ones by staying positive, all right? Let them know you think they can do it and that you will be there to support their efforts. Provide positive feedback whenever possible. Remind them that every step in the right direction is progress. In early recovery, there can be a complete loss of enjoyment until the brain adjusts to the absence of drugs. This lack of enjoyment is temporary, all right? In recovery, the brain heals over time. Changing any behavior is difficult, all right? It is a learning process that takes time. There will be setbacks. If your loved one relapses, let me say this, this is very important. If your loved one relapses, don't panic. Relapse is part of long-term recovery. It will be stressful, but your loved one is learning. He is building a new life and a new way of being. Confrontation adversely affects motivation, all right? It says, it is best to work with your loved one and support his motivation to change than to try to force it upon him. In any event, under current laws, all right, it is extremely difficult to force anyone into treatment, even your youth. All right, and so I hope these lessons or tools, these coping skills, information that we shared on tonight. Mr. Serrano, thank you for logging in, man. I greatly appreciate you. And that's it for this week. I'll see you on the next one, man. Take care of yourself, all right?
Okay.
All right, man.